something, either my heart stopped or something happened where I was no longer connected to this body. So I sort of floated above myself in the operating room, and I was looking down at myself. And I I really I tried to tell them, don't save me, because I didn't want to come back, because I had been through so much. I had been through 4 operations up to this point. I was also diagnosed with Lyme disease. So I was in a lot of pain every day, constant pain. And um, it's not a very fun, it's not very fun living with that much pain. So, um, so after a while, after telling them, they couldn't hear me, of course, but you can see everybody around you just like you can when you're in the body, but they can't see you. You're like a ghost, right? And so several things happened right away. Number one, I knew things, just all these, you just start knowing or remembering everything, because our brains, I realized first off the bat that your brains trap you into forgetting who you really are, where you came from before you were born here. Um, and I realized all these information, I just automatically knew, including the sun. I realized our sun was very important to us. That's one of the first things I remember knowing when I came out of my body, was the connection we have with our sun and the stars. Think of our sun like a giant energy station or a relay station that relays energy to us. And that's what our souls use to operate these bodies, because we're all electric. Our bodies are made to run on electricity, and our soul is the energy that runs our bodies. So that's one thing I knew when I came out of my body. And then eventually, I don't know how much time went by. And I don't know, could be, time doesn't really happen the same when you're out of body. Time goes by different here. Um, so the next thing that happened is I started getting pulled backwards. Like, I was looking down at my body on the operating table, and the next thing I know, I'm being pulled backwards by a force, like a magnetic force of some kind, like a tractor beam. Do you know what a tractor beam is? Like in a movie like maybe Star Wars or something that locks onto something and pulls it back, or pulls it towards somewhere. There was a force that pulled me backwards, and I just sort of, it wasn't a scary force, or I wasn't afraid of it or anything. And I actually got pulled into an electrical outlet in the operating room. I actually got sucked into the electrical system of the hospital. And at that point, I just shot. Everything went, like, I went faster than light. I could tell, because light was going like this behind me. I was actually traveling faster than light. And I was going through this wormhole. It looked like kind of like a wormhole, you would call a wormhole, like in the movies, like maybe in Contact, where she was going through that wormhole when the ball was dropped through that thing. That's kind of how it looked to me. And so I saw all these colors we don't even have here. And I was telling myself, whoa, this is so cool. And after a while, this wormhole just stopped. And when it stopped, I was somewhere else. I could see in the corner of my eye, sort of in my mind, I could see myself on the operating table in Tampa, Florida. Okay, but now after going through this wormhole, I was now in a different place. I was in San Diego, California, but not this San Diego, California. It was a different dimension, if you will. So, and I knew that somehow. I don't know how I knew that, but I did. And when I was in a bathroom in this dimension, and I was looking in a mirror. And so remember, I just came to this big wormhole, and then everything just stopped. And I was in a bathroom, and I was looking in a mirror, and I saw a face in the mirror, but it wasn't my face. It was somebody else's face, I thought. But um, so at first, I thought like I was sort of like a fly on the wall, being able to see someone else's life. Because I knew I had left my body. I knew I was dead. But so I thought, okay, this now that I'm dead, I'm taking some kind of tour somewhere. And um, eventually, though, I realized that I was controlling the body that was in the mirror. Isn't that pretty amazing? Um, and I was like, how is this happening? So I was looking at my hands, I was looking at my face, I was touching my face. And in that place, I was 16 years old, and I was a boy, basically, a teenager. In my life, this life here, I was about 41, 42 years old in this body, but in that body, I was only 16. And I was also like 6 years in the future to this life in this dimension. Um, can you imagine? So this is the first life I was able to experience for some reason. I don't know why this was the first one I experienced, but I learned pretty quickly, like in experiencing this life, I learned that things that happened here and things that happen here in this illusion, I call it, the one I'm talking to you in, they are connected. These lives are connected somehow. Like um, later on, I learned like when you think about something here, it happens. Everything you think gets created. Can you imagine that? You may not see it here, but it gets created somewhere else. So I was able to experience this life for about 2 years, two years of our time, until my 18th birthday. And the reason I was able to experience this life was to get me to understand that the decisions that not only I make here uh, affect everybody. When you hear that expression, we're all one, we really are all one. We're just living individual experiences. Each of us are living separate experiences, but there's one entity that I now call the infinite one. All of us make up the infinite one. And the infinite one is experiencing all these things all through us, and they all come back to the one experiencer, if you can imagine it. But the reason I came back, I really believe, was to teach people all about who we are and remember how powerful we are, and to get rid of fear in their life. Fear is a bad thing. Fear stops us from accelerating our societies. Our soul, the spirit, I think of it like that thing on Iron Man, that thing he puts on his chest. That's what our soul is. Our soul is the energy that runs our body. Once our body dies, that energy is no longer needed and it releases. So that soul is the same soul when you're 1 month old and you're 54 years old like me. There's no difference between your soul, no matter what age you are. Okay. And that's important to understand because a lot of people don't understand why, for example, why God allows a baby to die, an innocent child. Why are innocent children allowed to die? What, you know, but you must understand there's a bigger picture. Okay. There's a reason for all these things that happen, good or bad.